Hey, it's Friday, March 22nd, let's talk PlayStation! Now, since there were so many cool news stories this week, I'm just going to do a couple of quick-fire news stories. All these news stories are regarding new games, and it's starting now. So, Heavy Rain developer Quantic Dreams has been hinted at working on a PS4 game for a while now, but now we know they're working on a PS4 game. In an interview with Eurogamer, Quantic Dream basically said, yeah, we're very excited about our first PS4 game, and we're going to try and reinvent ourselves with our first PS4 game. That's cool. Not only that, though, they're trying to, basically, it kind of reconfirms that, they have this good working relationship with Sony, because, Sony does not own Quantic Dream, so Quantic Dream can make a game for any platform they want. So it's good to know that they're still sticking with PlayStation and they're going to be making PS4 games. Moving on, Sega posted a new teaser website hinting at a new PS3 and PS Vita game. Obviously exclusive since there's no other platforms listed on the website, but coming out March 28th, we'll find out more about it. We don't know what it is. Some people are saying it could be Yakuza, some people are saying it could be Valkyria Chronicles, but either way, new game March 28th for PlayStation systems only. And then moving on, Sony announced Epic Mickey 2 is coming to the PS Vita, and that's pretty much it. Epic Mickey 2 is coming to the PS Vita. It has an exclusive Wi-Fi co-op mode, and it's going to have, new touch controls, but other than that, new game for Vita. And moving on from that, Sony has partnered with new developer Ovo Sonico to make a new PlayStation exclusive, completely new IP, so this is a new game that we don't know about, and that's pretty much it. This makes Ovo Sonico a second-party developer, so Sony has a deal to make this game exclusive, but Sony does not own the developer, but otherwise, new game, exclusive. And moving on from that, a couple weeks ago, there was a screenshot floating around the internet for Assassin's Creed Rising Phoenix. We didn't know what that was, if it was maybe new DLC or maybe a new game. This retailer seems to think that it's a new PS Vita game, so who knows about that? There's no comment from Ubisoft, or we don't have any details really, but it would make sense considering Assassin's Creed Liberation actually sold very well on the Vita, so a sequel is definitely, possible. And then moving on from that, Unfinished Swan developer Giant Sparrow has revealed their second game, Eateth Finch. This is their second game in their sort of a three-deal lineup with Sony. Their first game was Unfinished Swan. This is their next game. We don't know what it's for, any details. It's actually a working title, but otherwise we know that they are working on a new game, and of course it is exclusive to PlayStation. And to top all that off, the Unity engine is now fully supported on PlayStation platforms, and it's a game creations program. It's very popular. It's very widely used. Many iPhone developers use it. I mean, tons of developers use it. But point being, now that this is widely available for PlayStation stuff, you're going to see much more games, hopefully. I mean, these are developer tools that are used for games like Temple Run and stuff like that, and now it can be very easily ported to stuff like PlayStation Mobile, PS Vita, PS4, whatever, and that's good news. Boom! That was a lot of game-related announcements. So now I'm very inclined to believe this next news story was delivered by God himself. Sony has apparently filed a patent that would allow trophy support on basically all PlayStation titles, from PlayStation 1, 2, to early PS3 titles, to even possibly PSP. So as it stands right now, new PS3, PSN, and PS Vita games are required to have trophies, but older games like PS1, PS2, and PSP, and even early PS3 games do not have trophies. And unless you want trophies in them, PS3 games have to be patched, and PS1, PS2, and PSP basically need to be, not necessarily completely remade, but certainly revisited in a much more drastic aspect. PS1 and PS2 games on the PlayStation Store are emulated, which is why the only PS2 games that do have trophies are the HD remasters. So what the patent basically implies is that trophy support can be added to games without any sort of modification to the game whatsoever. So there's sort of a system in place that can sort of check the disc reads and writes and accesses and sort of all that information, and without necessarily touching the game whatsoever, but still adding trophy triggers to the game, so once you complete that action, a trophy will still pop. So the kind of basic flowchart they have for the patent is that they would define a trigger, like for example, killing some boss, and then detecting that trigger, and if that trigger is activated, then the appropriate trophy would be activated. I think it's safe to say this patent allows a much more cost-effective way of adding trophies to older games. So with all this information, it's just a matter of, are they going to do it? Because, hell yes, they should do this. If you're not into trophies, alright, understandable. But for the most part, trophies and Microsoft's achievements have been very successful this console generation. And in some respects, they even push game sales for like easy achievements, easy trophies, and it just adds so much more replayability to the game. I myself love trophies. So naturally, a news story like this made me in my pants. But point being, think about that. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas with trophies, Final Fantasy VII with trophies, the Resident Evil with trophies, any game you love with trophies. That's awesome. But what do you think? Would you go back and replay some of your favorite PS1, PS2, or PSP games if it had trophies? So a lot of you want to know where Final Fantasy X HD is, and while we did see more of it, we actually saw some footage of it running on Vita, and that's awesome, but it looks like we're getting something more. Final Fantasy X2 is also coming too, in an HD remaster. What's weird though is the system differences. If you buy it on PS3, you get both games, but however on Vita, X and X2 are going to be separate purchases, which is even odder because this means that it probably won't have cross-buy because both of these games do have cross-saves, but if it's kind of set up that way that kind of alludes to it not being cross-buy. Point being, this is probably why it took a while for us to hear about it, because they were also adding X2. Now, I know a lot of people have some mean things to say about X2, but for me personally, X2 is kind of my favorite one. Hate me all you want, but I loved X2, so naturally this news also made me freak out. I guess you could say it was a good news week for me. And that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Panecki, thank you for talking with me, and I'll see you next Friday.